This is lovely Austin, Texas. Stevie Ray is undoubtedly my favorite guitarist, probably musician of all time. And so I'm here in Austin. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. We're gonna find out all the traces of Stevie. We're gonna find it. I was just going to go see the Stevie Ray Vaughan statue, and then that's what happens. I kept walking, discovered Barton Springs Pool, the mile-long line to get in, but no complaints. It's beautiful. Austin, I see the hype now. I see it. Now, you know what? I'm going to go check out another place that Stevie was rumored to have spent a lot of time. Home of the blues, what could it be? What could this place be? At Antone's. Alright, done at Antone's. Got a bag of swag here. Helping support local music through consumerism, materialism, one t-shirt at a time. If they were struggling from all that time off during the pandemic, I think I probably just saved them. So, you're welcome, Antone's. Now, I know in all this, there's going to be somebody who says, Stevie Ray's not from Austin, he's from Dallas. And that's true. Technically, he was born in Dallas. But he spent a good chunk of his life. He moved here when he was 17, and you might say it was his formative years in music. And so, we can argue about where he's really from. He's from Dallas, but there's definitely his fingerprint all over the city. Okay, now it's way past lunch. It's time to get some tacos. I know it's cliche. I can't help it. We're in Austin. It's food trucks, it's tacos. That's why we're here. Let's go find some food. And we're back to the hotel after a full day of looking for Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin. I gotta say, it's starting to feel a bit like a pilgrimage of sorts, to try to uncover little facts about him around the city. And I did discover a lot of things, and I'll tell you where I found a lot of these things online, a very interesting site. But I uncovered some interesting tidbits about Stevie and his life and stuff that I definitely didn't know. Now, everybody knows that Stevie went through a bit of a rough patch during, well, who knows how long during his life it extended, but most notably during like the recording of Live Alive and In Step, I think, where the wheels really started to fall off. And I saw like a VH1 documentary on Stevie the other day, and I think it was Doyle Bramhall that was saying, they're paying for studio time, expensive studio time, but they were really just doing cocaine and playing ping pong, and nobody was really that interested in recording, which is a wild thought. And he said he was doing a ton of cocaine, and then Stevie was doing like 4 to 5 times as much as he was even doing. He said on the organ there was just huge piles of coke, which is a wild thing to imagine, but I guess you see sort of where that leads Stevie in the future. And this all comes to a head. I think he was playing in Germany, perhaps, and he collapsed, and he saw a doctor, and at this point Stevie's septum in his nose had been ruined by the amount of cocaine he was doing. So at this point he was dissolving cocaine in whiskey every morning and using it that way, which is also insane. And so this is really the point at which push came to shove, and the doctor essentially told him that he had 2 weeks to live. His stomach lining was rotting from him drinking this cocaine whiskey cocktail every day, and he really had to reverse the thrusters and pump the brakes, or else that was going to be it. He called his mom and was like, I'm in big trouble, I gotta come home. And that was the beginning of his rehab and his eventual road to sobriety. You can find really interesting tidbits about him during that time, about his playing became so erratic that they had to bring in like a second guitarist to cover for him. You know, his bandmates were obviously concerned about him. But like I said, he eventually went to rehab, and you can find these cool things online, like an actual picture, a handwritten note that he wrote from rehab to his new girlfriend, I guess, Jana Lapidus. Another thing I found as I was poking around the internet was the fact that you can look at Stevie Ray Vaughan's actual death certificate and the autopsy report. Maybe that's a common thing, I don't know. But it's really strange reading, and it's so descriptive. Like every single detail of what the coroner saw when they brought Stevie from the accident site is described in detail. And so there's some interesting things, I guess, if you're a fan, just that makes it more real, I guess, when you think about it. Like when they described what they found in his pockets. So they said, among other things, they found a motel key numbered 4007. Guess he forgot to return that. A smaller key labeled bar key. 2 guitar picks with his name on it. A Blockbuster video membership card. An American Express corporate card. A Savings America card. A frequent flyer card. A Citibank Classic card. And the coroner's report says that the wallet smelled like kerosene. Obviously, you're in a helicopter crash, that's kind of to be expected, but it also says that in his right rear pocket, he had a black unbreakable comb. Makes it more real when you think about it that way. Is that he was just a dude who jumped on this helicopter in the middle of fog at 1 a.m., and we all know the rest of the story. Another crazy thing that I found out is I believe in 2007, there was a theft of a ton of Stevie Ray Vaughan memorabilia that was owned by his brother, Jimmy Vaughan. And you think, okay, yeah, that's pretty normal, whatever. It was like $1.5 million worth of memorabilia, including, demo tapes, clothing, handwritten song lyrics, letters, guitars. But the craziest part to me is the fact that this was all in a U-Haul storage unit, which is bizarre to me. I guess, where do people store stuff? Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I would think that if you had $1.5 million worth of irreplaceable collectibles from Stevie Ray Vaughan, I wouldn't pick essentially a public storage place. It would be in a museum somewhere, but hey, I guess times are tough. Store things wherever you want, Jimmy. But I think a lot of it was recovered, thankfully. But again, odd place to choose. I also made the trek to see Stevie Ray's Lenny guitar. It's in an odd place. It's in the Guitar Center, one of the Guitar Centers in Austin. And I guess Guitar Center acquired it for $650,000, and it's just sitting in this guitar store in a very average Guitar Center in a glass case there with an amp and one of his jackets, some of his pedals, another guitar, just rotating all day in a retail environment. But it's really cool to see up close. It's like meeting a hero. See just the insane wear and tear that he put on these instruments. And the story behind the Lenny guitar is pretty interesting as well. Obviously, it's named after his late wife. And I guess he saw this guitar in a pawn shop, and it was $350. And he didn't have the money. So I think his wife got his friends together to each chip in $50 and get him this guitar. Another crazy thing is at the time of Stevie Ray Vaughan's death, he was really at the peak of his career. What we think it was his peak, maybe he could have gone higher. But when he died, his estate was assessed to be only $672,000. Which again is one of those weird, interesting things where, you think of celebrities, and I guess you never really consider, what their assets are made of. But there's very detailed breakdowns of, what he owed who, what his assets were made up of. And, for somebody that successful, I guess, it's hard to say where the money went or why it was so low, but it's very interesting. But in the end, the good news is, after all this, Stevie got sober, and he stayed sober until his death. Now, if you visit Austin, you really get the sense of why not only Stevie came here when he was 17, but you see why it is such a perfect incubator for his career and for music like the blues, and why it was able to flourish here, even today. You just take one walk down 6th Street, and every 5 feet The open doors have music blasting out of them, live music. It's incredible. Stevie's legacy continues to live on, not just here in Austin, but around the world. And people are carrying the torch. People like Gary Clark Jr., Eric Gales, Joe Bonamassa, Matt Schofield, Kirk Fletcher. The list goes on and on and on. And really, we can look back at Stevie Ray Vaughan and be nostalgic, but right now, these people are becoming legends that people are going to look back in the future. And you have the chance to be one of those people who's able to say, I saw Eric Gales in concert, and people are going to, in the future, be like, man, what I would give to have seen Eric Gales. The time is now. Take advantage of it. Blues has never been better. It's amazing. Get out there, enjoy it, support it, and I'll see you next time.